everybody, and welcome back to Bounced Checks. I'm Bounced Checks. Ooh, I am your host, Katie. I am here with our lovely co-host, Josie Ann. You will know us from the normal Bounced Checks podcast that we've done the last few seasons for Big Brother, both US and Canada, but we are here with something special for you this season. We started it off last season. We didn't keep up with it, but we're going to give it a go again. We're going to give you something called Feed Bites, which is just quick 20-minute, 30-minute discussions around what's going on in the house this week. We're going to talk all things on the feeds. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to talk to you guys in the chat. So any questions you have, throw them at us. We're not going to go super, super deep into detail. We're just going to kind of give you quick updates throughout the week to let you guys know where everybody stands. But we're excited to talk about everything that's going on in this messy, crazy gaming house. Everybody has not stopped. Josie, how are you? How is everything?
I'm so good. First of all, I didn't have to work today, so I was on the feeds constantly this entire weekend. There's so much happening. If the gameplay for week 1 is insane.
Insane.
I think like I can't wait to talk about it and kind of like do a cute little check-in with the Bounce Checks crew with y'all, and it'll be something fun that we can do and discuss. So please like comment in the YouTube chat, comment on Twitch, like please feel free to interact. Like, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a kiki, and it's just gonna be some fun.
Yes. We're going to jump in and just give you a quick lay of the land of where the house is. You guys probably know most of this already, but we're in week 1. Riley is our HOH. She had to, instead of nominate 2 nominees, she had to take down 2 nominees from the block. We saw this in the episode last night. The 4 nominees were Miss Felicia, Jared, Corey, and Kirsten. And she decided to take down Jared and Corey. So Miss Felicia and Kirsten remain on the block. Hisam won the veto on Saturday, and the veto ceremony was today. He decided not to use it. The feeds were down for about a little over 2 hours, which was a long time for them to be down for the first veto meeting, but I don't think anything out of the ordinary happened. But Josie, keep me updated if you know anything more updated than I do.
Yeah, I don't think, from what we can tell, there isn't anything that happened. I think right now the feeds are focused on a conversation that Cameron had with Izzy, as well as the repercussions of that. Obviously, Izzy telling Sari and everyone else
Right.
who can
Right.
who wants to listen in her alliance. So there isn't anything crazy, but I have my eye on the Twitter feed just in case something happens while we're live,
Amazing.
so that
Our
we know
live
what's up.
correspondent.
Absolutely.
Cool. So we were talking a little bit before we went live on how we want to structure this because the house has truly not stopped since the feeds came on. I mean, they've been gaming almost nonstop. I watched the feeds almost all day yesterday, which is the first time I've done all day in a really long time. And I went to bed at like 1 a.m. thinking, oh, they took sleepy time tea, they drank some tea, they're going to go to bed. They were still up when I woke up in the morning, and apparently it just popped off last night. So we'll try and give you as much as we can. There's a lot to keep up with. So let's I'm going to share. Josie sent me this. Shout out to Big Brother Junkie on Twitter who put together this alliance
Yes.
chart. We're going to share the screen. We're going to talk a little bit about the layout of the land. We're going to dig into each person individually and just talk about kind of what where their standing is, who they're close to, who they're not, and then we'll talk through some questions. Sound good?
Yes.
Cool. So I will go ahead. I will share my screen. And again, shout out to Big Brother Junkie. We'll link this too in the show notes so you guys can click out to their awesome Twitter. Thank you so much for putting this together. So,
Yes.
Josie, where do you want to start? Should we start with family style?
I think we should go by like by Riley HOH and
Yeah.
that alliance, and then trickle down because everyone's kind of like weirdly connected, but there's still a sense like a weird hierarchical stance
Yep.
between at least family style and not necessarily so much the other members of this house. So I think that'll be a good jumping point, starting point.
Yeah, let's start there. So Riley, it seemed like over the last, since she became HOH, she started to put together a pretty decent power structure around her. Jag is her, I guess her number one ally in the house, but Blue is also really close to her. But things seem to be shifting a little bit. Things seems to be crumbling around her a little. She is having a really hard time with her HOH, even though I would venture to say this is probably one of the easiest HOHs in Big Brother history. What do you think, Josie?
Honestly, I feel no like empathy or sympathy for
No.
Miss Riley. Last night she was crying on feeds, and we saw her interacting with Matt and Jag about like how hard it is and how she's like girl bossing and everyone's coming to her and that she's the center point. But I just feel like you're HOH, you're a fan of the show. Like you should expect these, and you didn't manage your alliance or the perception of your alliance well. And now she's freaked out because people are now catching on to it, which we'll kind of talk about later. But ultimately, she started at a really good point. She was considered a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Everyone loved her. Like it was just really good vibes. And I think she even says it herself. I think she had the easiest setup for an HOH because she just
Yeah.
basically saves two people. She doesn't put anyone up. And so up until the veto, I think everything was great and fine and dandy. I think she was divulging a little too much, which we can talk about. But ultimately, I think the veto was the beginning of the Riley spiral that we have seen, and I think we'll continue to see.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, there was a lot of speculation that Riley threw the veto. I think Izzy even asked her if she threw the veto.
Hello.
There was some conversation. Hi. Are you still here? Oh, yeah, here you are. Yeah, I think Izzy even asked her if she threw the veto. I think there was someone else that had asked her if she threw the veto last night. And she's like, why do people keep asking me if I threw the veto? I think she is feeling the pressure of all of these one-on-one conversations, and she just keeps saying like, everybody keeps talking to me and they want to ask me questions, and like it's just been really really hard. It's been so hard, but it's like, okay, well, you're the HOH. That's natural. She hasn't really left the HOH room a ton. She was out yesterday a little bit just because the backyard opened, but before that she's been pretty holed up in the HOH room with her crew. And yesterday it seemed like they really started to put together that the other side of the house, who we'll talk about, knows what's going on in the HOH room and knows who's in the power structure. And it feels like things are starting to break down a little bit. But I will say both sides of this house are extremely obvious with who they're working with. No one is doing a great job of hiding it. What do you think, Josie? Okay, we may have lost Josie, but we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Jag, I think, is really doing a good job of trying to keep it together, and keep Riley together. They also have Blue, in their power structure, but Matt is interesting. Matt had a lot of really good conversations with Heisem yesterday, and he really shared that he's having a hard time in the game, because he can't keep up with group discussions and conversations really well because of his hearing impairment. So it's been really interesting to see how he navigates. I think, yesterday he was saying that he was feeling really discouraged, but he realized that he has to really talk to people one-on-one, which I do recommend if you haven't seen the discussion yesterday with Heisem, that you go back and watch it. Heisem, I think, did a good job navigating the conversation, but did definitely kind of make it about himself, in a pretty significant way in a lot of areas. So it was like a little awkward at times, but I think listening to Matt explain, how he's able to handle himself in those types of situations is super, super interesting. And I hope that Big Brother starts to make some accessibility changes in the house and makes it so he's able to really follow along with the discussions a little bit more. I don't know what they could really do for the group discussions, but for the competitions, I think they definitely need to add some changes there to make it easier for him. Hi, Josie.
Sorry, I was giving Julie Chen live episode 1 energy with
Good.
my Wi-Fi. Yeah. What was the last point you left off on? Sorry.
I was just talking about Matt and Heisem's conversation from yesterday and how Matt opened up that he's having some issues in the group conversations because he's not really able to process as quickly, because of his hearing impairment. I guess his I don't know how the right way. I guess he's I mean, technically he's deaf, right? I don't want to miscategorize his hearing issues, but yeah, I think he said that he has like 60% hearing in one ear and only 20% hearing in the other ear when he has his hearing aids in. So it's taking him a little bit to process the discussions that are happening around him. He's feeling really discouraged by that. And yes, Valencia said in the chat that he talked to Izzy about it as well. There was a conversation that took place in the pool also. So he put in a lot of really good work yesterday, having one-on-one conversations. I don't know if Josie is with us, so we'll keep going. There are a few things that well, we can just keep going. Corey is an interesting one. Corey has been a little bit on the outs of both alliances. He's been in the middle, and I think he's going to be a really important player moving forward. He obviously pitched to Riley to keep himself off the block and to be taken off the block and promised her safety for the next, I guess next week-ish. He knows that he's at the bottom of the alliance, though. He knows that he's not really part of the power structure. I think Riley and Jag are not doing the best job of making the people who aren't in their core structure feel like they're part of their core structure. They're making it pretty obvious, like who's at the top and who's at the bottom. So Corey was feeling a little uncomfy about that, and he had a really good conversation with Cirie yesterday. And I think he made a lot of really good inroads with Cirie. He did start talking a little bit about how much of a fan he was again, which I feel like I'm just like, oh, Corey, you don't need to tell her how much of a fan you are every time you talk to her. But we did get some interesting tidbits about Survivor. Josie, just talking about Corey's conversation with Cirie yesterday. And he wants to work with Cirie. He wants to work with Izzy, but Hisam is making it really difficult because he knows that Hisam is close with them, but Hisam pretty clearly does not like Corey, does not want to be around Corey, does not have game conversations with Corey, barely has personal conversations with Corey. So it's made it a little bit difficult. So Cirie, was like, we have a path here for sure, but let's just have a conversation with Hisam. I'll help. I'll talk to him. So, what did you think about that, Josie? Did you have any thoughts on the Corey Cirie conversation yesterday?
I think since we're talking about Corey, I have some thoughts that led up to that conversation.
Yeah,
honestly, I think Corey started off in the worst position in this game. And I think if you watch the episodes only, we feel like we kind of skim through it and like we don't actually address what happened, because Corey was almost going to stay on the block against Kirsten. It wasn't supposed to be Felicia. That switch happened the night before nominations, and then they told Felicia she was going up the day of nominations when it came on the TV screen. So I think Corey, because of like the whole Netherlands thing, and to this day, I don't know if he actually did anything, because in the episode, like we just see him like weirdly edited and like show up in the scary room and be like, next time it won't be that great. And it's like, okay, but that had repercussions in the house that aren't discussed, because everyone was like, he has to have a power. This is ridiculous. Right. There's no way he just disappeared for 2 hours where people are getting to know each other. And he all of a sudden just like didn't get anything and he was just sucked in. Like people are not buying it. So, and then people were kind of people just thought that Corey was sketchy the entire time. So moving past that, when nominations came, he had a conversation with Riley and he told her, he told her that his brother was on Survivor. So I think that connected them.
Oh, did we lose you again, Josie? I can hear you, I think.
Oh, God.
Maybe she can't hear me. You're still here, Josie. Okay. Well, we'll keep going.
Oh, I am?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm still here?
Yes. The joys of live podcasting, everybody. You're still here.
Okay, well.
Okay, maybe she's not still here. Okay, thank you guys for bearing with our technical issues. Well, we'll keep going with Corey. I actually didn't realize that he had told Riley that his brother was on Survivor, which is really interesting. I thought he was keeping that secret to himself. So, but yesterday in the conversation with Cirie, Josie's absolutely right. Everybody was sketched out about Corey. He definitely felt it, I think, but he did a lot of really good work. I guess his role or his job in life is a persuasive speaker, which I'm not really sure what that entails, or he just introduces himself as a persuasive speaker. And I guess some of his persuasive speaking worked out pretty well for him, because he did get taken off the block, obviously. And he has a good relationship with Jared, and I think that really also helped him make some inroads with Cirie. He has not put together that Cirie is Jared's mom, and from what I know, Corey also has not spilled that his brother was on Survivor to Cirie, which I think is pretty interesting. For me, it feels like that would be an immediate bonding moment with Cirie to tell her that your family member was also on Survivor, but he's kept that to himself as far as it comes with Cirie. Hi, Josie.
I'm so sorry.
It's
I'm so
okay.
sorry. Anyways,
It's okay.
uh, yeah. So my point was, I just found it interesting, and then he told Riley obviously about Zach, which is something I
See,
thought he
that
would
I
tell
didn't
Cirie.
know. I didn't know he
Yeah,
told
so
her
he
that.
told her in the bedroom, and I think that's what made her want to keep him. She mentioned the fact that his brother was on the show and that he was like first boo or whatever. And they had a moment where they bonded, and they kind of touched on that. And I think that made Riley feel really good about Corey, because we went from seeing Riley not connect to Corey and kind of avoiding him to like them being super close all of a sudden, which was like a huge 180. But I think that conversation had a big impact on Corey's game. And without it, I think he could have been the first boot. So good on him for that conversation.
Yeah.
But from that point on, he got taken off. People felt rubbed off, like he rubbed the house guests the wrong way, especially Heisem, because he was like, why is he so smug? Like, why is he smirking? Like, even over a game of chess spoke to him about like how you're approaching things and how you have to be careful about that. So, I think Corey has now pivoted slash adapted to being more confident and more out there, but he wasn't in that first half of what we've seen on feeds.
Yeah, I think there was also some kind of I wouldn't call it an incident, but there was a conversation that Heisem really held on to about the have not room and what bed Corey was sleeping in because Heisem offered him, I don't know, it's like the one that's kind of like hanging from the ceiling. And Heisem took, I think, the hot dog bed. But Corey was like, oh, I thought you really wanted the hot dog bed. And he was like, no, obviously I was just being nice. And I think like just Corey's general presence rubs Heisem the wrong way. So we'll see what happens there. But Heisem, I think, is the main variable that's keeping him out of getting closer to Cirie's side of the house. It's pretty interesting because they had a conversation yesterday. Heisem was like just not. He was really not engaged. He was eating a bowl of slop the whole time. He was looking down at his slop the whole time. He was kind of just like, okay, right, with like almost like a customer voice on instead of like a real voice. Like if you've ever worked in retail or in a restaurant or with customers,
Yeah.
like you put on this like hi voice, and that's kind of what Heisem was giving Corey. So it definitely the conversation didn't go well. I think yesterday for Corey, that's for sure. And it ended up where Corey was like, I really like Cirie. I really like Felicia. I really like Jared. I really like Izzy. Like I want to work with that side of the house. He was honest. He was like, I didn't promise Riley much, but she did keep me off the block, or she did take me down, so I wouldn't put her up on the block.
Mhm.
And he's like, but I just feel like I haven't been clicking with you. And Heisem was just like, well, I don't know you. And it just wasn't happening. Heisem was just not giving him the time of day, which is unfortunate because I
Yeah.
think that really ended up pushing Corey back to Riley's side of the house.
I mean, the thing is, he still understands where he lays. Like he
Yeah.
understands his dynamics. He and Jared are in the bottom. So I think he needs to focus more on Cirie. I wish he kind of took more of Izzy's approach to Cirie, because if anything, like he could be more connected. I feel like he has this like the carrot dangling and he's just not
Mm-hmm.
using it properly. But I think he's okay with where he's at. So he hasn't done much since then. But we saw Corey kind of last night talk to Matt and Riley about positions and the layout of the land. So I think if Corey's and backdooring Heisem, that's his plan if he
Mm-hmm.
wins HOH. So Cirie and Izzy did work to make sure like that wasn't his plan, but that conversation just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And they still need Corey. So I think Corey's still a value player.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Corey's
Yeah.
going to be an interesting one to
Mhm.
watch, I think, because he really is very in the middle right now. And I think he does have some pretty decent relationships across the board. I think his relationship with Jared is going to be really interesting as we move deeper into the game. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. Um,
Hmm.
let's talk about Blue. Josie, what's your opinion on Blue? I feel like she has played a pretty good game so far. She's pretty close with Jag. She's one of the main alliance members on Riley's side of the house. But she's been a little bit more low key, which is kind of nice to see because as we talked about, Riley is kind of spinning off the rails a little bit, but Blue is kind of keeping it together. And I think she has become really close with Jag and America. By kind of being a little bit more quiet and keeping it closer to the chest. What's your opinion on Blue and where do you think she's at right now?
I think Blue's a hot mess express. No shade to her. I think Blue has the opportunity to play a killer game, but she talks too much. Her and Riley are like twins. They talk too much. Blue
Yeah.
is in a position where she can kind of have these allies. She can have these allies in other places, and she chooses to divulge and like tell everyone, but she doesn't do it in a way that's like constructive.
Yeah. We still have you. You're still here, Josie. Josie, you're here. Okay. I think Josie's still having obviously some technical issues, but we can still hear you, Josie.
Okay. So I was just saying how she's a hot mess express. She tells too much. She could have had a queer alliance in her back pocket. She went and she told everyone. And in the beginning, we saw her disseminate this information with her core people, and she was like, this is what's happening. I don't know what to do." And she just went down the train of that alliance and ended up being like, "This is what I'm gonna do." Blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, like she was sitting in a room with Jared and she was telling him, and he was like, okay, like I just feel like she's all over the place. God, let me tell you something. We got 2 ears and one mouth. That ratio is
Yeah.
super important, especially in the Big Brother house. And she does not use it. Okay, she does not. Yeah, seriously, we need to evict them because I have so much to say and I'm so pissed off. But I think she's just a hot mess. Like Blue has so much game potential, and I just feel like she's like throwing it to the wind, and she's like losing that. And I just feel like people originally thought that they can bring Blue in, and that was such a good position because she could have taken that information and ran with it. And instead, she went and she like did too much, and she was constantly in the room. And now they got her tea. So now it's like when they talk to Blue, it's not genuine anymore,
Yeah.
which is something she could have had, and she chose not to throw it up in the air. And I don't think that Blue's playing a good game because she just talks all the time. Like she needs to stop doing that and just listen.
To me, it feels like Blue's talking. Yes, I don't disagree with you. I feel like she is more level headed, though, at this point than Riley. Like, I do feel like Riley is just like spinning, and making up these scenarios in her head. I do think America
Mm-hmm.
is going to be probably the one of the best players on that side of the house. If they keep her on that side of the house, that side of the house is losing numbers as like the minutes go by. So, as long as America stays with them, I feel like she's going to be someone that keeps everybody really level headed. But yeah, I don't know. Blue is interesting. She's also making a lot of connections. She's telling everybody that she wants to protect Heisem as far as she can. And I think someone else that she said that about too. That's slipping my mind. But she's just like, yeah, even though they're not in the alliance, like I'm gonna protect them as long as I can. And like that's the genuine connection that I made, and I want to keep that. So it's interesting. I don't. Maybe it was Izzy that she said that about as well. So it's
Yeah,
interesting. I don't
Izzy
really
and
know where Blue's
Heisem.
head is at. Yeah.
The thing is that she's loyal to this situation, because technically she's in the best position hierarchically with Riley and Jag, but people don't know that. Like people have clocked to Jag. People think that it's actually Riley, Jag, and Cameron, or Riley, Jad, and Matt. And so she's in a really good position, but she's squandering it. And I just don't think she's like clicking in that maybe she should stop. Like I think she's
Right.
definitely like a double eviction moment, like
Yeah.
very much that.
Yeah, or I could see her being like a replacement nominee that just gets put on the block as, collateral damage because someone won a veto or something like that. Let's talk Cameron. Cameron is I have to be completely honest, every time that Cameron is on the feeds, I do tend to switch to a different Cam.
Real.
But yeah, he is a little abrasive. I think in the draft, I said that he had a lot of Daniel Durston potential, and I think he's giving that full stop in the way that he is reacting in the house. He's like always wearing a cowboy hat. I don't know. It's like he's giving some weird vibes, and the way he speaks to some of the women in the house. I think he said the other day that like to Riley when she was spiraling, he was like, "Don't make me hit you," which is a wild thing to say. Cerie said yesterday that he gives her cop energy. He has a lot of really gross things to say about Kirsten, and a lot of people are making some excuses about it on social media. Like I think he called her Cotton. Am I not?
Yeah.
Because of a movie. But like, bro, we can't be doing that. That's like not appropriate in any
In the
sense
year
of
2023, that's
yeah,
not
like,
an excuse.
I don't,
Like...
yeah, like you can't be quoting movies. Yeah, that's like not, yeah. So yeah, Cameron is like doing a lot. I guess there was a conversation with Red last night that we missed a lot of because it wasn't on the feeds, and they kind of decided to infiltrate each other's sides of the house and just like take it down from the middle. But then he also just as we were going live was having a conversation with Izzy. I don't know if he was saying like he wanted to work with Izzy or if he was trying to get information with her, but like I don't really know what Cameron's doing. Cerie's side of the house wants Cameron gone sooner than later, so I have a feeling if anybody on that side of the house wins HOH next week, he will be on the block.
Yeah, Cameron got settled into the house very quickly, and we
Very
saw his
quickly.
true colors as quickly as he got settled in. Honestly, Cameron, I don't know where the ego came from because he's not even technically in like the 3, he's like the 5. But I think he's kind of moving ranks, which is kind of weird. I feel like he's kind of moving upwards in regards to always being with Jag and Riley, which I thought was strange. Like kind of taking over Matt's spot, but like not really because it's just really weird. I think Cameron's gameplay is a little too, I don't want to say aggressive, but it's very much like in your face almost a little bit, like the way he talks to people. First of all, him comparing himself to Dan Giesling and comparing Corey to Ian on day 3.
Wild.
Mind you, it's almost technically it's like day 2 because it was like 2 a.m. Like let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes. Like,
can you imagine those words coming out of your mouth?
I was sick. I was like, Dan Giesling? Dan Giesling. Let's simmer down. It was too much. I think Cameron has an ego, and his ego will be the downfall of his game. I kind of talked about this about Luke, thinking like, oh, I think he's gonna have HOH-itis. Cameron is definitely HOH-itis. Like, I will shift that towards him. Like,
yes,
it's just too much. Like he had a conversation with Izzy, and he was just like, I really like Jag, Riley, and Blue, which is something that a lot of these people in this alliance have been doing, is just naming all of their allies and being surprised when people find out that they're in an alliance. Like, oh, there's no way they can know. Like, they're not idiots. If all 5 of you start saying, I like this person, I like this person, I like this person, I like this person, you're in an alliance. Obviously, Jared is also there, so like we know that that's fact, but like they're not stupid and they're taking them for idiots. And that's what I think is really annoying. So it's like Cameron kind of, I don't know what he's really doing. I also kind of tend to like switch cameras when he's on, but Cameron's conversation with Red gave me the impression that he's thinking about like if this alliance falls apart, because I think he also sees the cracks. I think a lot of these alliance members see the cracks. The difference is that like someone like Corey or Cameron, who's not necessarily like in the middle of it, they're branching out and finding other pathways. Whereas like Riley isn't. Jag's good with everyone, but I think he's so buddy with Riley that he won't take the measures of like protecting himself. And same thing with like Blue. I think Blue's kind of like lying too much, and Hisam and Izzy are like starting to get turned off by it. So I don't know. Cameron's playing the game. He's playing the game, I think, a little aggressively, for lack of a better word. And I'm not really a fan. He also, it doesn't help that he bashes Cerie But
I know he called
oh,
Suri a random ass Survivor player, and he was like, "This is my
random ass Survivor
house.
player
This is
dragged the
like,
Cookouts Alliance. Like he was
yeah,
dragging the alliance. Like he was just, let's just say, Cameron's not giving really pro,
no,
the cause, and that's
no, he
okay.
was
Not
not.
everyone will be, but I just feel like it's kind of like sacrilegious, like to be just like
Yeah,
dragging Black movements. But that's just me.
especially when the Cookout is the most successful alliance in Big Brother history. But okay,
Yeah, he was saying like, I don't
okay,
want this to be the another season of first Black blank, like first Black blank, like what? Like it's like
yeah,
don't talk if you don't understand. Like if
right,
you're not a fan of it, that's okay. But there was obviously a cause and a reason for that, and it was expressed. And you claim to be a big fan of the show. Like, come on, 2 + 2 = 4.
right.
Like, what's not clicking? It's giving head empty, and I can't do anything more for you. I
Yeah,
can't, sir. Like, I am rooting for Cameron's departure, and I'll
I
leave it
think we're
at
gonna
that.
see it pretty soon. I think we're going to see it pretty soon. Let's switch to the other side of the house, and then we'll go back to Jared and Kirsten. Kirsten's kind of just floating in the middle, but
Oh God.
the other side of the house, we have the Bye Bye Bitches, which is the five. Then we have a little bit of a broader alliance of that same group, plus Heisam and Red. And Jared, because Jared's technically not in the Bye Bye Bitches called the Professors. That was solidified, I think, last night or early this morning.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on that side of the house, and Suri is gathering her troops. As the family style side of the house falls apart, Suri and Felicia and Izzy are doing a lot of work to pick up all of the pieces and build their army, essentially. They're gearing up for a split house war, and Suri's troops are looking pretty strong as Riley's troops are looking pretty weak and like battered down. We see a lot of Suri and Izzy. Izzy's doing a lot. Let's talk about Izzy before we talk about Suri. Izzy's doing a lot. She is not really letting Suri breathe, but she did do some good work, I will say, yesterday with Luke. In my opinion, Luke is interesting. He kind of woke up yesterday and was feeling like, hey, no one in this house is talking game to me. Every time I come into a conversation,
Yeah.
people get quiet. He tried talking to Riley.
Hmm.
Riley didn't give him much at all. And he was like, I'm not stupid. Like, I can see what's going on here. And Izzy, I think, picked up on that really intelligently. And she was like, hey, like, people underestimate us. Like, maybe we should just vote together next week and see what happens and like see how you feel, you know? Like, and he was like, you're actually the only person that's genuinely spoken game with me this whole time. And it seemed to work. And he also woke up this morning and had a conversation with Suri. And it seems like Suri and Felicia kind of like kept the work going that Izzy started yesterday. And he could potentially be on Suri's side of the house now, which is really interesting because he would be an unlikely ally to me for Suri. I know I said let's
Yeah.
talk about Izzy. I kind of went all over the place, but it's all
It.
connected. It's all connected.
Yeah. So Izzy, I think Izzy is in trouble. You're in danger,
I
girl.
think Izzy's in trouble too. She's going to
Yeah.
burn
So
out fast.
there's so many layers to why she's in trouble. The first one, like that I'll talk about, is how Family Style has caught on to her, and
Yep.
they actually think that Izzy's the ringleader. The
Yep.
ringleader is very debatable. I truly think it's Suri, but
Yeah.
like it is what it is because I feel like Suri's the middle and she's the one who's gathered everything. I think Red feels good
Yeah.
about her. I feel like Bowie feels good about her. Felicia feels good about her. Obviously Jared, Nicole, like
Yeah.
Hisam. Like I think she's the ringleader, but people think it's Izzy. And so now there was actual talks about backdooring her this week. Like
Yep.
if Hisam would have used the veto, Izzy probably would have gone on the block. It would have been a toss up between Izzy and Luke.
Yep.
So I think she's in trouble in that sense. And if that other side wins, a lot of the conversations had last night were we should backdoor Izzy. That's
Yep.
the narrative that Riley is pushing, and that conversation was had with Jag and Matt. So it's a possibility that they would also do that. So and not saying she's in trouble. I think she's also burning herself out.
Yes.
She is constantly moving. Like if her body's not physically moving, her eyes are moving.
Her
like
eyes. I was gonna say the same thing. You can see her eyes.
She's
Like
like
she can't stop herself.
I don't know if the right word would be sporadic. I'm sorry, English is not my first language, but like very much like just like all over, like all
Yeah.
over the place. And I think people are catching on to that and they're kind of getting sketched out. Red had a conversation about Izzy to Riley, and I don't know. Again, we don't get these like internal dialogues, so we don't know
Hmm.
exactly what's up. But Red made a comment being like, "I like she's doing too much, pretty much." Like he was like,
Yeah.
"She's doing too much," and it makes me sketched out. It could have been deflection. It could have been rule. It's hard to tell because we're just seeing these conversations. Um, but yeah, it just doesn't look good on Izzy. And I was curious how the Jared and Cerise situation happened. And when we watched on the episode, she just kind of like cornered them and was like, "I
Yeah.
know who both of you are. I have
Yeah.
your secret." Like, da, 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 da. So I mean, it works out. I think Suri genuinely likes her, and I think Jared also genuinely likes her. But I think she's like going 100 miles per hour, which is what I
Yes.
thought she would do when we had our BB cast breakdown, and that's why I
Hmm.
didn't want to pick Izzy. I was like, I would rather pick Bowie over Izzy, but Izzy is playing the game, which I appreciate. Izzy
Yeah.
is making the feeds fun. I love that.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
team fun feeds always.
Yes.
And she's doing that. So
Yeah, Izzy had to get talked down a little bit by Suri yesterday. I think she hit her
yeah.
breaking point. I also feel like these people are just not sleeping. They're waking up super early.
Oh
They're going to bed
no.
super late. I just think they're sleep deprived. It's just like a lot has been going on. But Izzy, you're right, is moving 100 miles per hour. She's having good conversations with people outside of her own alliance, though, I will say that. But when she
Mm-hmm.
had the conversation with Luke yesterday, I think that's really what tipped off Riley that, like, oh, she's doing a lot. They're trying to pull Luke to their side. And Jag actually suggested backdooring Izzy. But Riley and America actually suggested also backdooring Luke because they felt uncomfortable with Luke. And they were like, if we could get Heisem to use the veto. But Riley is very much like, no, absolutely not. We're not changing it. This is the plan. That would be suicide. Like, I'm not doing it. And she is very resistant to moves that would probably be good for her game and good for her team down the line, which is interesting that she's like holding so hard to this, like, nope, Kirsten has to go. But yeah, Izzy's definitely in
Yeah.
trouble. Izzy's way more out there, and Suri is much more measured. She's quiet. She's more subtle. She's having those one-on-one conversations and building relationships when Izzy is not right next to her, on top of her the entire time. She's
Mhm.
able to really like solidify good connections. Plus, obviously, Suri has Jared as an unspoken, number one, which is super helpful. But she has had great conversations with Nicole. I think Nicole is playing an amazing game so far. She's making really good personal connections. She's flying under the radar. She has a good relationship with America, as we see on the screen if you're watching us live on YouTube. She has good conversations with Corey. She's made a really good relationship with Kirsten, which, if you are following some of the conspiracies out there could be an eviction that gets canceled on Thursday. There could be an 18th house guest. We don't really know what's happening. There's a lot of theories out there. And there's a possibility that Kirsten might not leave the house. There's a possibility that she might go to the nether region, and we don't know what that is. So I think it's really good that people aren't just kind of like throwing that relationship away. And Nicole's doing a really good job of fostering one-on-one personal connections. And I really like that.
Yeah. I guess we're switching over to Nicole. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. We'll
We
just talk
don't
about
see it in
whoever.
this. Yeah. We don't see this in the chart, and I actually responded in a tweet about this when I saw this tweet go up with this image. But McColl's also in an alliance that's not displayed here with Jared Suri and Felicia, called the Brown Sugar Babes. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm correct, it could be Sugar Babies. It's something along that.
Yeah, I think you're
All you
right.
need to know, it's brown sugar,
Brown
okay? And
sugar.
I'm here for it. Something sweet. Anyways, but McCool's doing a really good job. I think she's taking like a different approach than some of the people in Family Style, where they just talk, 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 talk. Riley is guilty of this. Blue is guilty of this. They just talk and run their mouth.
Yeah.
And McCool has kind of just observed and sat down and gathered information and shared some of it, but also kept it to herself. Like her chess chat with Corey, and we see them try to build this like, if you hear my name, I got you, blah, blah, blah. If that's actually going to last or actually be applicable, we'll see. But it's something that was applied. So I thought that was cool. And we also see that with America. She's kind of
Mm-hmm.
teaming up with these like super fans and being like,
Yeah.
I'm going to have your back. I'm going to have your back on the other side of the house, which is really good for her because um, Family Style has been like kind of talking about her being a pawn next
Yeah.
week. They've been like, oh, McCole and someone else, McCole and someone else, and she can go, or she could be the pawn, or she could be whatever. But she's actually really well installated with, the professors
Yeah.
and building those relationships with them. And I just feel like Family Style is kind of full of themselves, and
Yep.
they don't think about other players and how they're navigating the game. But McCole has done that. Like, she's also spoken to Riley on several accounts. So I don't think there's really anyone except for maybe Cameron, because I don't watch him on feeds, where
Yeah.
we've seen her connect with these people. So I think she's playing a good game, and very under the radar game. And I think she has the tools to be very dangerous, because I don't think people see how connected she really is, which could also make her vulnerable to being a pawn.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see what happens with her and how she continues to navigate. I think you're right. I think the Family Style side of the house doesn't really, they just don't have the numbers to do anything with anyone on that side of the house. Even if they did try and backdoor Izzy, I don't think they would have had the votes to get her out. Like, I think they don't realize the position that they're in right now and the work that
mhm.
the professor's side or the bye bye bitches side has done to really solidify and insulate themselves. So they're in for, maybe a little bit of a shock if they win next week and maybe the vote doesn't go their way. We'll see what happens. But let's talk really quickly about Bowie. Not a ton to say about Bowie, but I think it's interesting. Bowie is in the Bye Bye Bitches. She's in the comic room. But there's a lot of mistrust or distrust going along with Bowie. For some reason, it seemed like maybe 2 days ago, everybody was feeling good about Bowie. Yesterday, there was a lot of questioning of Bowie because she hasn't really been spending a lot of time with Cirie, Felicia, Izzy, and she's been talking to the other side of the house a lot. So there was a conversation that took place in the comic room, and then Blue, Cirie said, did like a side shuffle or a side step to get out of the room, and Bowie was like a little weird when she was describing the conversation. So I think there's some question marks around Bowie. So they're not really giving her a ton of information, but they're going to use her as a number.
Yeah, so that was a situation. Okay, first of all, Izzy is making Cerise so paranoid. Like, it's too
Yes.
much.
Way too
I
much.
blame Izzy for,
Yes.
like, not all of Cerise paranoia, but some of it that is
I
just
would
like
say
not.
90%.
Yeah, like, it's just she is a catalyst to the fire, and it's just like not helpful. But
Yeah.
yeah, like with the Bowie situation, obviously Bowie, I think she don't know really what she's doing. She said she watched
Yeah.
the Australian version
Which
and
is
she
very
liked the
different.
American one, but I don't really think she got into it. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
think who am I to say? I don't know, but I'm just a little confused by her gameplay. I don't think she has one. That's the issue. I think she was brought in as a necessity, as a number, and they actually started catering information to her for sure. But then that situation happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, one thing about this side of this alliance, they're very direct. Felicia's direct, Cherie's
Yes.
direct, Izzy's direct. So they're just like, what happened? What happened in the
Right.
kitchen? And Bowie was like, what time? Like, she was just very confused, and they kind of got over it. They started laughing about how paranoid they were, so they like trust her,
Yeah.
I guess. But Bowie brings nothing to the alliance. So let's say hypothetically it's a steamroll. Bowie will be like the first one out of the team, like alliance, like down. Like, she's in the bye bye bitches. So
Yeah.
she's in a better position than technically like Hyson or Red. But she doesn't give anything really. She's
Right. Yeah.
just
She's
a
not doing
number.
too
She doesn't
much.
provide information. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hyson we talked about a little bit earlier. He's making some good connections in the house. Like I said, he had a really good conversation with Matt yesterday. He thinks maybe it's possible that he could pull Matt from the Family Style side. We'll see about that. I don't know. There's also this like flirting situation happening with Matt and Riley that could, keep him closer to her than to Hyson. Like we talked about, he was like a little bit brash with Corey, which I think is going to cause some problems for him down the road, depending on the influence that Corey has with Family Style. But I also think Family Style is seeing Hyson and Izzy too, specifically as the two loudest and the two ringleaders of Bye Bye Bitches, where they're still saying like, I love Miss Felicia. I love Cirie. Like, we could still work with them. Riley thinks that she has some kind of control over them, where they do not feel that way about Hyson and Izzy. Anything else to say about Hyson's game?
Yeah, I Hyson just plays very much like every straightforward person ever,
Yeah.
aka Betty, aka like a Karen. I
Hmm.
tweeted about this. Very direct, very straightforward. I think Heisman kind of created a bigger target for himself. When he was just asking direct questions to Family Style, he was like, Riley, like, lay this down for me. And he was asking questions, which are valid questions, to be fair. Like, this man has a veto. He has the right to ask
Yeah.
questions. And she was like freaked out about the fact that he would ask her these questions. And then same thing with Corey. Like, they went in a corner, both of them, and complained about Heisem's directness in asking questions. But it's like, one, he's a veto holder. Two, Corey, you said
Hmm.
you want to connect with him. So why are you surprised when like these are the interactions? I feel like Corey specifically, I'm a little disappointed because maybe Corey's just a BBUS fan.
Right.
Super fan to me is like it's the same continent. You should be watching some Big Brother Canada, okay? And it's like this is not a foreign reaction to his archetype. Like, let's be serious. He's
Yeah.
giving very much either Kevin Jacobs or Kevin Martin, whoever you want to compare it to, very much that. And so they had people kind of be like opposed to them, but they ended up working things out or at least making it cordial so that even though they were enemies, it still worked out. And I wish Corey would look more in that direction because I feel like he can, like he has the abilities to. And I think he's just like, it's not coming easy to him, so he's giving
Yeah.
up. Like, you're like, not everything is going to come easy to you. Like, this is the Big Brother house. And I feel like he was just like, I'm going to give this up.
Right.
So I mean, I like Heisem's directness. And I think people should be able to look at Heisem as someone you can go to and just have an honest conversation. Just be like, where do I stand with you? And that could be really good
Yeah.
advantage if the players know how to use it. And I think people are just like shocked that he's so direct and not like, well, it's week one and I don't really talk game, blah blah blah. But like, is that
Right.
not what you want?
It's kind of like what you see is what you get with Heisem, which is, I don't think it's a bad
Yeah.
thing. I think, we'll see. I think that does paint him. Obviously, he almost won the HOH. We saw in the episode. I think he was second place, maybe,
Yeah.
and he won the veto. We don't know what the veto was yet, but we'll see that on Wednesday. So he's going to be, I think, really important for the Bye Bye Bitches side when it comes to competitions. So we'll see what happens with him. I think he's going to be he's going to have a major impact on this house one way or another for sure. He already has.
They yeah, they think Riley Jack think that like Heisem is someone they could like work with in the future. They see him as a threat, but they're like, we can
Yeah.
keep him because Heisem's connected to Blue because they're both queer, and Jag is
Yeah.
connected to Heisem because of cultural. I forget the word that was used, but something about
Right.
connecting culturally. I don't think they're from the same background, but they have similarities from my
Right.
understanding. So they're connected that way. So those connections to the top of the food chain and Family Style are protecting him, but like by slight. Like if
Yeah.
Corey, like if the people in the bottom, like Cameron or Matt or Corey get HOH, Heisem is a huge
Yeah.
backdoor plan for them.
Yeah. I think so too, for sure. Okay, let's talk Jared and then we'll finish off with, oh, well, we didn't talk Red either. And we can finish off with Suri and Miss Felicia. I know we have a challenge podcast coming up soon in a few minutes, so I don't want to keep us here too much longer. And we did say these were feed bites and we're nearing an hour, so we'll speed through the rest. But okay, I'm just looking at the screen. Let's talk let's just go to Suri. We've been kind of dancing around Suri, but I feel like I have a lot to say about Suri, but at the same time, I don't have that much to say about Suri because I feel like she's just getting started. Like, I feel like she's warming up. She's making really great connections with everybody. She's having really great one-on-one. She's giving amazing advice. She gave great advice to Kirsten about the way that she's playing the game. She was able to talk down Izzy yesterday. I just feel like she's such a presence in the house already, but she hasn't done anything so huge that has catapulted her into like a huge threat level. But it's just amazing to see her work in such a live feed fashion because everything we've ever seen of her has been edited before, so it's just like we get to see a master at work, and it's really amazing. But I think with Family Style, we've said it a couple of times already, they think that they have some kind of power over Suri and Miss Felicia, which is interesting. And yesterday, there was a lot of paranoia going around because of Izzy. You kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, Josie, because Izzy was saying that Suri would have been a backdoor plan. That was never the plan. That was never discussed, but that all just came from Izzy. I think that got Suri a little bit paranoid, but then Suri kind of like reeled it in and was like, we're being paranoid. Like, we need to stop. This is like being ridiculous. What's your feeling on Suri's game so far, and what you've seen over the last few days?
Yeah, so I think I want to talk about Suri's perception first, with
Mm-hmm.
the house guest and talk about her, but I think there's two reactions to Suri, or three. They don't know who the hell Suri is, which is
Yep.
great for her.
Yep.
Then you have people like Corey and Cameron who are like, oh, like Suri, like she's been on TV before. Well, Cameron's more negative connotation. Like
Yeah.
he said something along the lines of she's been on TV 4 times, which is
Yeah.
false. Like I think this is her seventh time. If
Yeah.
you're gonna throw shade correctly.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then Corey was like, it's Suri. Like she's great, but I want to win, which I understand as well. So we kind of have these like negative feelings.
He said
But these
something about
people,
like in the DR, like Suri gets to the end, like uses her thing, and then that's how she gets to the end and wins. And I'm like, sir, Suri has only won the
has
Traitors.
never
She's
won.
yeah, like she didn't win Survivor. She did win the Traitors, but like, is that like
It's not the same.
Suri playbook? It seems like maybe not. That's actually not what happens.
She was just playing by what was given to her. But
Right.
anyways, so these people are still working to like get these connections with her, but they clearly don't have her best interests at heart. And I think she can kind of clock that tea. And there are people who like don't engage with her. Like she keeps saying like Matt doesn't talk to her, which is kind of bad on his game, but I digress. And then you have people who really embrace the fact that she is Suri. Obviously, Jared's different, like that's his mother, but it's also that's Suri in the sense of like that's mama's seat, like
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And then you have Felicia and Izzy and people who embrace her and who like to talk about Survivor and who appreciate that. So I think in that sense, she's navigating a fine line, and I think she's kind of chosen not to lie. She's been very direct about her game, and I think that was the smartest approach. Lying makes no sense when you have super fans in the house, and they made that fairly obvious. Like if I was Corey, I would pretend like I didn't know who she was. Like I feel like, anyways, there was choices that were made.
Yeah,
like he couldn't help himself. And honestly, would I have been able to help myself? No, probably not. I would have lost my shit. I'd probably be Izzy right now, just laying out my whole game so that she could win.
Yeah,
but that's besides the point. So I think she's taking this like mother figure role, and obviously the cooking and the cleaning, which we've seen before.
Yeah.
But she's also giving this like wise. I don't know if Yoda's the right term. I don't watch Star Wars. I've never seen the show.
But well, I famously hate Yoda, so I wouldn't give it to her. But yes, she's giving Jedi Master. Yeah.
Yes, very much like I'm guiding you. Like, here's what you do. And I think people appreciate that. Like, she's not doing it in a way that rubs them the wrong way. I think they really appreciate that. And I think that will help her because if she's giving those conversations, people might want to keep her around still. So I think, she's doing what Suri does best, socially connect with everyone and kind of play a role that will help her navigate the game. To say that there's no target on her back would be a lie, but she's surrounded herself with people who are bigger targets than her without really realizing Izzy's a bigger target than her, but that's her gameplay. Same thing with Heisem, like, you know what I mean? So ultimately, I think she's playing a really good game. And I don't think there's any really criticism. I think maybe if she got out of the comic room a little bit more.
Yeah. She's in the comic room a lot. And I think her relationship with Izzy is what sketches me out a little bit because I think Izzy is kind of a loose cannon. And just like with some of the paranoia that Izzy was spreading around the house yesterday, I just worry that it's going to rub off on Suri a little too much and they're going to be seen as a duo, and that's going to hurt Suri down the line. Like if people want to take a shot at Izzy and they can't, they might end up taking a shot at Suri instead, which I would never want her to be collateral damage to a player that's a little bit all over the place, like Izzy. Like I just feel like that makes me a little nervous. But I'm loving everything that I'm seeing from Suri so far. And I'm just so thrilled we get to watch her on live feeds, regardless for how long that she's here, whether she gets to, a few weeks down, whether she's in jury, whether she wins the game. Like, I'm just happy for whatever time that we have her and we get to watch her do her thing live. It's really exciting.
Honestly, what's funny is that, like, regardless of Izzy's paranoia, at least Jared is there to, like, balance it out, which can kind of transition into our conversation about Jared. Because what Jared has been doing in this game has been great. I know people are upset. Some people are upset with how Jared has played this game or is playing this game.
Well, I think he started off messy as hell, but he reined it in. He cleaned it up a little bit, and now he's really putting in good work. I think night 1 and 2, it was like, whew, he was doing a lot. Night 2 specifically, he
Mm-hmm.
was like really talking. He was really up there with Riley. He like tried to give away his own alliance that she was in with him, and she's like, yeah, I was like in the room. He was just doing too much, but he's since calmed down, and I think everything that he's done since then has been great. He has a really good relationship with Corey. He has a really good relationship with Luke. He has a good relationship with Matt. Like, those are all going to be so important, I think, to the Bye Bye Bitches and the Professors, because he can put in work with those groups that Cirie and Felicia and Izzy aren't super close to. And he gives them all the info. He's in. He's in with Family Style. He's getting all their info, and he's just bringing it right back to Cirie.
Yeah, honestly, like even to your point about him talking a lot, I think it's just because he was in danger. Like
Yeah.
once he wasn't
Once
in
he was off
danger
the block,
anymore,
yeah, then he was totally
he
fine.
he was fine. I think he was just in like, first of all, he's going to be the first bootleg Cerie's son. Like I know he knows
Yeah.
about the pressures of that. And so I think he was just doing a lot to be good. And I think it did work because ultimately, yeah, he was being messy, but it secured his placement with Riley. Like, even though he's not in the handful, which I think is a little strange, because
Yeah.
originally they were talking about the 5. They were talking
Yeah.
about Jared being named the 5. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it was his relationship
with.
with Luke. They were feeling sketched out about Luke, and he had a good relationship with Luke, and he wanted Luke to be brought in. I think it was Luke that kind of like made it a little shaky.
So it's like ultimately like a little bit messy in the first, but I think he's in such a good position. I think he is. I could be wrong. Fact check me, chat. But he's the one who's kind of started this new narrative of how we approach people and ask them about their alliances. Like
I
know
think it's him and
past years-
Felicia.
I think Jared really started it, but I could be wrong. But like just being like, so who are you working with? Like he doesn't say that, but he's just like, so who are you working with? And everyone's like, I'm working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he's just like, and he gives nothing back.
I know.
He goes, I think in the beginning he was saying a lot like, I'm really good with Felicia and Cirie and blah blah blah, which he should rile in. Like I don't feel like that was necessary, but like whatever. But he kind of started this new trend that we're seeing in this house, and I think it's so funny because through Jared we've seen everyone kind of clock Family Style, and now like he's at the bottom of it, but he's the most fluid player out of all of them. Like he has no bad blood, unlike Corey, who has like issues with people, and like what by people I mean Heisem, and people who are still a little sketched out by him, or like America, who's like kind of been furnitured. No shade to her, like she's just playing a low key game, but like people are like when they try to talk to her, I think she was the one they clocked first. Like they were like, why is it that I'm talking to you and you're saying, oh, we can look out for each other? Like, no, like if you're saying that to me, Cirie and Izzy had this conversation. They're like, if you're saying that to us, you clearly don't want to work with us, and we're not going to waste our time on you. Whereas Jared is good with everyone. There's not one person in this house, even Kirsten. Like when Kirsten speaks to Jared, the code switch, like I get it, Kirsten's sister. I get it. Like the way I talk to some people and the way I talk to Black people is very different. And so you can tell she feels comfortable with Jared. Like that's her guy. Like even though
he kind of is the reason.
Yeah. But
sorry, girl.
He's in a really good place. Yeah, sorry. R.I.P. sister.
Yeah.
Much
I know.
love.
All right, let's go over Miss Felicia, icon, legend so far of the season. I take back everything I said in the draft podcast where I was like, she's not giving me Rennie energy. So I don't know. She's Rennie and more. She's everything. She is hilarious. She has every single day ruined her mic pack and by dropping it in the water every day so far. Today, she's gone by unscathed, but she has gone through 4 mic packs already. She's on number 5. Her laugh is infectious. She is hilarious. She has a great relationship with Cirie, but she also like hangs with everybody in the house. Like she doesn't isolate herself as much as you would maybe expect her to. She like sits around. She has all these conversations with people. She went up to the HOH room and said to Riley, like, so who's in your alliance? And Riley was just like, well, I have this person and this person. And the clip of it is so good if you've seen it. Cirie's neck is just like she was shocked that it came out. And then like she got the answers that she wanted. So Miss Felicia is giving me, I love her. I think she's going to be sticking around for a while. She's incredible. She's just like so funny to watch, and just like we need more Miss Felicias on these casts of these shows. She's amazing.
Yeah, I am so glad I picked Miss Felicia in my draft. I picked her a little bit early, Like, I think people were like, okay, go off. Like, there was a few people left like available that
Yeah.
picked her. I was like, I just love her vibe, and
Yeah,
I'm so
she's
glad.
great.
I think I said it in the draft. I was like, if I was in the house, I would want to play with Miss Felicia.
Yes.
And surely, after watching the feats, I would be like, she's funny. She's funny. She makes people laugh. She's a good time. Her laugh is infectious. I think she's doing. And the thing is, no one's seeing her strategy. So
Right.
like she first of all she comes up with the alliance names, the iconic alliance
Yes.
names, the
Bye bye,
professors,
bitches.
bye bye bitches. Like she's killing it.
Yeah, she's great.
And like I think there's a strategy side to her. Like when she's watched this game, I think she said she's watched every season. Her and
Yeah,
Izzy,
she didn't
they
watch
said that
live
to
feeds, but she
Suri
watched all the seasons on of the show
every
on TV.
season.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what she's doing, and I think people are and they're so dumb for this. They're underestimating the old people,
Yes.
the older people. I don't want to call them old because they're not really old, but like the older people. And that is the flaw. And all of like the young players this season and a lot of players before them, they underestimate the older house guests. And Felicia is a great example. Like, yeah, she's giving energy, she's giving personality, she's giving entertainment. But there's like the wheels are spinning. Like she's up there. Like her and Tari, yeah, like Izzy and Tari are like the two duo or whatever. But her and Tari, when they get together and they talk game, it's like equal contribution.
Yeah. Oh,
She's not
yeah.
being talked at. She's not being like none of that. Like she's in it, and I think like obviously we're obsessed with her because she's just
Yes.
so fun. But
But she
she's
did good
giving
work this
game.
morning with Luke. To Suri.
Yes.
Izzy kind of planted the seeds yesterday. He spoke to Suri this morning, and then Felicia kind of like sealed the deal with him a little bit and nurtured it even more. And she's really doing great strategically. She's no slouch, that's for sure.
And the fact that everyone's like, there's no way she's leaving. Obviously, I don't like the fact that she's a pawn.
I know.
I
I love
think
that for
pawns
her.
do go home. And I'm scared that one week she'll just be a pawn and something bad will happen. But I think ultimately, like, people feel good about her.
Yeah.
And we're so used to the oldest house guests like going home first. And the fact that Miss Felicia is not like she's going to be in this house a second week. And I think she's gonna be here longer than some of the people in
Yes.
the bye bye bitches and the professors. Like that is so fun and good and fresh, and I'm excited to see her grow some more.
Me too. She's at the core of everything on Cerise's side of the house, which I love. And I think, even yesterday she was talking about the other side of the house, and she was like, you know what we need to do? We need to put Riley and Jag up, and then if one of them comes down, we backdoor and Cameron is the backdoor target, or vice versa. Like she has those three pinned. She wants to get them out. She's following the game. She's playing the game actively. She's not sitting back and letting it happen around her. She's adding a lot of strategic value. I love her. I just worry about competitions, but I'm hoping that if there's like a mental comp or just some crapshoot comp, that she can pull it out, because truly imagine what a Felicia HOH is going to look like. I can't even. Yeah, Javier even says like
So
a Felicia
fun.
HOH, she'll be dragging left and right, and I'm ready to see it all.
I will ask them to please keep like Cam one or something just constantly in the HOH room if she
Yes.
is HOH. Like
Yes.
she's a force to be reckoned with, and I can't wait to see it. I hope. I have never been pro rigging, but if there's a season where I'm like rigging
then we're ready.
for
This
like,
is the one.
this is the one. Like make the competition a laugh off. Like she will win. Like give it
Yes,
to
she
her.
will win.
Give it
She will
to
win.
her.
Okay, let's talk really quickly about Red. There's not a ton to say about Red. I think he started the game off a little later, kind of like Luke almost, except he did start sooner than Luke did. Luke really picked up on it yesterday, but he's sleeping in the comic room. I think, Suri and Izzy were feeling a little iffy on Red. And then I think, they started to open up a little bit once they realized that he's not in family style. And he's definitely aligned more closely with that side of the house, which I think is really interesting. He like fully clocked family style yesterday to Riley in the HOH room. It's fully out there who's in that alliance and who's not, and what the power structure on that side is. But there is that conversation that he had with Cameron yesterday that kind of sketches me out, where we don't know. He was kind of like, anything that happened before this, like, it's a wash, like anything, like moving forward, this is what we're going to do. We're going to like take these things down, take both sides down from the middle. And I don't know if that's true or if it's not true, or, I think we missed a lot of some of the discussion there, but I'm a little nervous about Red, but I think he's on the side that obviously I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for the bye bye bitches side. I'm a biased partition. A biased party here, but yeah, I think I don't know. What are your thoughts on Red?
Yeah, Red's game, I think Red kind of like started off late because he did it to himself. He was like,
Yeah,
he kind of announced to everyone, he was like, it's too early to start playing,
right.
playing the game. But it's like, gameplay starts day one, second
Yeah,
one, the moment you walk into
especially
the
with
house.
this cast, they
It,
have not stopped.
especially with this cast. And so he kind of shot himself in the foot by like limiting his options. And I think that's the reason why he wasn't like really approached by anyone to actually have gameplay. And I think that's why he wasn't including Family Style. Do I think he could have been a member of Family Style? Absolutely. But he isolated himself in terms of gameplay immediately. So he kind of shot himself in the foot. And so now the professors have welcomed him in because they realize they again need numbers and he's someone that they actually like. So it's like, okay, we like you, you could be a number for us. Come in, come in, come in.
Mm-hmm.
And he joined kind of that side late. But what's confusing me is like Brad was a big topic of conversation because of the way he was like, don't talk game to me.
Yeah,
And now he's kind of like this like weird middle participant. Like he's just like in the middle, but not really. Like I feel like he picked his side, but I'm really confused because that conversation with Cameron, where Cameron's like, you know what, like everything that's happened before this, like very
yeah,
weird. Like Cameron, the way he approaches things and he talks, sometimes I'm like, why? Anyways, but he was like, oh, like let's just forget everything, like everything you may know or think you know. Like let me hypnotize you real quick. Everything you think you know, blah blah
mm-hmm.
blah. Like it's a race. Now let's kind of be each other's Jason and Danielle without using those words exactly.
Yeah,
And work together. And Red has the capacity of doing it. That conversation he had with Riley, it was really confusing to me whether or not he was being genuine about the comments he was making about Izzy
right.
and like where he stands and if he like really wants to be in. And that's why I'm like, Red has the potential to be the Jared, but I don't know where the ultimate
Mm-hmm.
loyalties lie. I mean, I
Yeah,
think he was psyched about the professors and like being a part of something, but I think he also is fearful about the fact that these people may not win comps,
right.
which I
Well,
hope is not the case.
I feel
But
like he is one of the people on that side that can help them win a competition. Like, I think, Bowie
yeah,
was a professional tennis player. We found out she's an athlete. I think Izzy could be a force to be reckoned with. I think Nicole, we saw her run in her heels and just like kill it in the finale, in the premiere. Heisem has been really great in the two comps that we've seen so far. And, we have Jared, who I think would be also, I mean, obviously he didn't do great at the puzzle, but, I think we'll see what happens on that side with the competitions, but I think he can only help them instead of hurt them, hopefully. We'll
yeah,
see.
I will see where his true loyalties lie. I just kind of wish
Yeah.
they did. I wish they kind of did the thing where they did it in Big Brother Canada, where they let people see their DRs. Because I just
Yeah.
want to know where people actually truly lie. Like these, like Corey's, Red,
Yeah.
Cameron, America, like the middle people, or
Yeah.
the bottom of these alliances. I just wish I knew exactly what they were thinking.
Yeah, totally. Last but not least, we have Kirsten. Unfortunately, there's not too much to say about Kirsten. I think she went a little hard. Obviously, the first few days in the house, she was spreading a lot of things about different alliances. She made the Phalanx Five, which is just a very strange name, and she was kind of spreading some things about Matt and her and Riley and a love triangle, and Jared immediately spilled to Sari and was like, oh, she's sketchy. And it just got around. I think, Miss Felicia was very anti Kirsten and was throwing her name to Riley as well. And she just became like the pariah of the house, unfortunately. And she is the target. Riley really wants her to be the anonymous, I mean, not anonymous, the unanimous, sorry, vote out of the house. So we'll see if that actually happens. But unfortunately, she had a conversation with Heisem yesterday. It didn't go great for her. He didn't use the veto on her today. She's still on the block. I think Sari gave her some really great advice 2 days ago. There's a lot of clips of it floating around on Twitter if you didn't see it live on the feeds. And she really, it reminded me a lot of the conversation she had with Michaela in Game Changers, which I know a lot of people have made that comparison, but she kind of was just like, listen, you got to stop. Like, this is the reason that you're on the block. It's not because you're in this room. It's because a lot of information got out and it all came from you, and just like reel it in. And since then, I think she really took that to heart, and she's been so much better, and she hasn't been spreading a lot of stuff around the house. And she actually got really upset yesterday because she found out Felicia was kind of spreading stuff about her to people in the house. And she thought that Felicia was kind of on her side. So I actually felt really bad for her yesterday. She was having a day. And Cirie was giving her hugs. Nicole was comforting her. I just feel bad for Felicia. She felt like collateral damage a little bit.
I think Kirsten's a really interesting topic of conversation because there's so many layers to it. But I think this is how I see it. She got into the house. She played too quickly. Whether it's because she was already in the bottom 4, or like the block 4, or whatever we're calling that, maybe that's it. But she made it clear during her preseason, I want to be in the big alliance. I want to dominate with people. Da, 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 da. And I think she thought first person, like, if we go first, like, it'll be the solid alliance, which isn't the case, which is why it's important to get to know people before you make a big alliance, which Family Style didn't learn, and so didn't Kirsten. And so the conversation about, well, is it really her fault or is it Jared and Felicia's fault? You have to remember there are 4 people who are in trouble. Corey didn't have any information from nobody because they were sketched out. So he had to play really much like, please help me. I'm desperate. Like, I'm about to drown. Riley, save me, and I will owe you everything and my first child's name. Like, very much that. The 3 rest of them, they got to be there the first few hours. They got to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And Kirsten went out of her way and she did too much. And the 2 other people who are left are like, this is exactly what I need to get out of safety. I'm sorry. Let's be serious. Everyone's like really upset about like the fact that Felicia and like Jared threw her under the bus. They were in trouble. No one wants to be on the block. Even the strongest Kirsten fan, if they go in the Big Brother house, they wouldn't want to be on the block. And that's what they did. They went and they protected themselves. She gave them the ammo and they shot their shot. She got in trouble. And it's like she just went about it and approached it the wrong way. But I think it's also in her situation, same thing. She was on the block. She didn't want to be the 2 official nominees. And she was freaking out and she was doing whatever she could. Then she started making up rumors that didn't help her. Love triangles, boys alliances with no concrete no concrete proof. And even if they had foundation, unfortunately, the HOH at hand, Miss Riley, don't care about boys, girls, gender. To her, gender doesn't matter. She just wants to compete with whatever her long speech was that I wasn't subscribing to, even though she said in the beginning for HOH, it's for the girls. I digress. So I think she did it to herself. But I think there's low-key a little bit of light because I don't know if you talked about this when we talked about America because I was dealing with my technical issues. But America really wants to turn the house around and get Kirsten to stay. And that's props to Kirsten technically. Like she must have a good relationship with America for America to be like, oh, like we could do this. It's just unfortunate that Miss Riley is the HOH. Like she will not budge.
She shut down.
Which is so dumb because if you think about it, like Riley, like, come on, sister. I'm not for Family Style, like, don't get it twisted. But it's like, if you save her, she's a number for you.
Right.
You need numbers. They're so content. They think they have everything figured out. And when you feel safe is when you're in danger. So I'll leave it at that. And I think she's still fighting. And I appreciate the fight. There's so many days left. You know, eviction is on Thursday. We're Monday. Like things could change on a dime. And the way this gameplay is going, it could change. Like she's not down and out yet. I'm just curious if she comes back in the game, how that can impact it. But she's doing a good job of not like pissing anyone off anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I think she came in too strong. at first with all the rumors and the talking and the spreading things. And now she's totally reeled it back. And she's, I think, doing really well. It's just unfortunate that she couldn't get Heisem to use the veto. Even if it was on Felicia, I think it would have been great for Kirsten because she could have stayed. And I think she would definitely lean toward the bye bye bitches and not Family Style. So she could have been a number for them.
For sure.
It's unfortunate that they couldn't have figured out a way to kind of get that done in a way that benefited them, or that they weren't interested in doing that. But we'll see what happens on Thursday, because like we said a little earlier, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there with what the eviction is going to be, if there will be an eviction, if there won't be an eviction, will there be an 18th house guest, will there not, will they be from the challenge, will they not be from the challenge,
Oh my God.
will there be a split house, will it be teams, like we don't know, but there's a lot flying around out there. So next time we get together, I think we're going to have a very different conversation, because who knows what's going to happen on Thursday. But with that, I think we talked about everybody for the most part. I know at the beginning of this, we said this would be around a 20-30 minute podcast. We're about an hour and 15 in, but it's just our first one. So we had a lot to discuss and talk about. We haven't had a recap yet on everything that we've seen so far. So we'll go ahead and we'll close up here, and you will see us again on Friday with Isaiah with our normal coverage. We'll recap the week and we'll talk all through all the eviction and the new HOH and all that other good stuff. But in the meantime, you can keep up with us. Let me just scroll a little bit. On all of our social media, you can follow us at silent_podcast on Twitter and Instagram, at Silent Podcasts on Twitch and at TikTok. We've been doing a lot of stuff on YouTube lately. Isaiah and I went to the premiere party, Oz's House Chops in New York City this week, and we had a really great time. Isaiah put together a great video. We did a lot of filming, a lot of chatting with some of the alumni. So that's up on our YouTube. Check that out. We also have our Patreon and our Discord, which is linked in the show notes below. Oops, I wanted to click off of this and I didn't do it. Yes, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/silentpodcasts. You can check out our Discord if you want to chat live through all things. A lot of people are in there watching the feeds and just chatting about it. It's been a great community so far. And in the meantime, Josie, where can everybody find you?
Yes, guys, honestly, I think it's because there's so much that's happened these last few days that we've gone over our bite size.
We had a
it's
lot
going to
of
be more
stuff to talk about.
regularly. Yeah, it's going to be more regular and it's going to be shorter
Yeah.
because we won't have so much to cover. But thank you so much for joining us. You guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, pretty much all social media platform ever. I'm Josiane XNM, Josiane XNM, so JOSIANE XNM. We are podcasting obviously with Bounce Checks crew. We'll be doing these check-ins, these feed bites as well. We're actually also going to podcast after this the Challenge USA with
a double header
in the comments. Yeah. And so check those out because they're Big Brother people and they're Survivor, all the shows on CBS. So check those out. But besides that, I also have a YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking reality TV on there. I haven't posted it yet, but I am talking about Deep Fake Love, which is a crazy Netflix show. And I pretty much give you the review, the recap, the rundown. And if you want to watch it after, we can kiki about it. But yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. Josie's doing so much. I'm so excited to talk about the challenge with her and Sabrina. Right after this, we're doing a double header. So stay here on our YouTube. We'll be here again in another few minutes to chat all things the Challenge USA. We're going to do a cast breakdown. Carrie is taking a break from TJ Hates Quitters, but we're taking a small break from Pod What Happens Live, but we'll be back next week. Carrie's on vacation right now to talk all things Bravo on Pod What Happens Live. So check us out there. Also brought to you by Silent Podcasts. You can find me on obviously the Bounce Checks coverage every Friday with Josie and Isaiah, and we'll have guests throughout the season. We've had a lot of fun the last few seasons, and I'm really looking forward to talking about this season. There's been so much happening. And in the meantime, you can find me on Twitter at RealSimKatie, and you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSimKatie with an underscore at the end. And I'll be playing some games there, but also talking about some TV, reality TV, Big Brother, The Challenge, all kinds of stuff. So drop me a follow there if you would like. It's free to do so. Yeah, and in the meantime, we will see you in just a little bit talking all things The Challenge. So thank you guys so much for being here for our first Feed Bites. This will be live on YouTube and Twitch, and we'll post it on our audio feeds as well. So you can catch up later down the line if you would like to. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.